What's up, man? I'm Jomer. I'm Petrol_enthusiast on Instagram and Petrol_enthusiast in YouTube. I'm here with Chasing the Apex.
So we're going to go interview this gentleman, and I think he's got some interesting stories to tell, and we're going to examine his mind. We're going to go into the mind of the petrol head here, and I think that's really cool. We're going to just try to understand his petrol head logic, and I think that matters. What is petrol head logic? Dealers and manufacturers, they just go, oh, dude doesn't look like he has money, or he doesn't look like he has the expendable income to buy the vehicle. But in reality, a petrol head doesn't care, because a petrol
What's really cool is you're going to, if you look below, you're going to be able to find, not only his Instagram, but his YouTube. He does a lot of cool DIY stuff, and I appreciate you having us out, especially because of all the beer, because God knows, regular dude, I like beer.
It started at a young age, probably when I was a teenager, and I was watching Fast and the Furious like everybody else, and I was just fascinated about these car builds that were just, unbelievable, that people were just buying regular cars and just modifying to their specs and stuff.
Right, and they were going about as fast as, exotic sports cars at the time.
And it was amazing to see that, and it caught my interest, and I think that's what sparked, for me being a petrol head.
And I follow the hell out of your Instagram, by the way. And he's got this Instagram program called Petrol Talk. You gotta check it out. Check out the link below. It's hilarious because it's just life, right? He's just talking about life and prejudgment. And so generally I have like this angst against dealers and manufacturers, because I don't think they take care of their fans.
No.
And and obviously, I think we're like judged. Does that make sense? Like, well, this dude, because he came in this way, he can't afford this Lambo. I'm like, well, I gotta tell you, I believe a petrol head, those mini mortgages, they don't really matter to him.
Yeah.
What they matter is whether or not they're getting the vehicle they want, the experience they want, and they will buy the car.
Yes.
Let's be honest, right? For most people, petrol head logic doesn't work.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like, when you acquire a car of that type of status, or any type of car, you buy the car because you want to.
Sure.
You're not buying it because this individual is buying it, or this YouTuber or Instagrammer or a movie star. You buy it for you,
right?
Because you want it.
Absolutely.
And it's not an investment the way I see it. It's just something that you...
I disagree. I think it's an investment in the experience.
Granted, it's just that, I don't buy cars investments. It's because I want it, because I want it. Sure. It doesn't matter what the internet says on if it's not reliable, or this, that, or it depreciates so much. It's something that's on your bucket list, that in the back of your head, everybody's got a bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a Lambo or, an AMG or a Hyundai, the way you want to spec it out. Everybody has a bucket list that they want, and it's just what they want, not anybody else's influence.
And that's what matters, right? So you have like literally, 3 vehicles, right? So when we talk about that, it's like, okay, well, I already know Jomer's got at least 180 some odd K tied up in cars, right? And so I'm just guessing, I don't know, but I'm just guessing. So now when you walk into a shop, right, I know I've had this experience. I'm like, hey man, I'd like to look at that GT4. And obviously I've just been like randomly blown off. And I'm like, whoa man, I've got a Ferrari 360 in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I got it that I showed up after work and that it doesn't look like I can afford this car. But if you spend your time with me and you give me a reasonable test drive in it, because that's what I do, I drive, I'd probably buy that car. But because you didn't, all right, bro, I'm going to go roll on.
Exactly. I mean, I've run into that type of same exact scenario to where, these car salesmen or employees, they label you already right before you get in. It doesn't even matter. And it's like, they're not even trying to hear you out, but they're already judging you, saying that, oh, this guy is just, he's a Yahoo trying to, waste my time.
Right.
When you're coming in there with a intention to purchase the vehicle that's on the lot, but then you have this individual that's probably not trained or not as diverse as the way they should be, when customers come in. Because society right now, they have a tendency to label people by the way they look. And I've gotten that so many times, and I just, told them straight up. I said, I'd have like the cash on hand, and I was like, you know what? I said, you could have had a sale.
That's right.
But the way you treated me, I said, I'm out. That's
it, right? And so sometimes there's some confusion there, like, oh, well, there's, you have to have some brand loyalty. I don't believe not all petrol heads have brand loyalty.
No.
They do have people loyalty and relationship loyalty. You and I are two different types of petrol heads. I'm a driver, you're a builder and a collector, right? So when we do that, right, that doesn't mean we're not both petrol heads and we don't have that same connection. And so I think it's important, like, that people understand that. So there's a lot of judgment against that, like, oh, you drag race, or, you drive cross country, or you just build. Mm-hmm. Hey, bro, all petrol heads.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat.
Right.
That's what I don't understand, where there's this division. And
because you talk about this a lot, by the way, on Petrol Talk. You're like, hey, hater.
We're all in the same boat. We all love cars. We all love engines. We all love any type of build, whether it's like eBay or bought by. It's a good car. It's a good build, and it's what you want.
How many times do you check car listings a day? Just hypothetically, because I know I check like 15 times.
I have a Craigslist app on my end, like Car Guru.
Sure.
Just to scroll through, and like if you happen to see like something that you like personally right now, I'm looking for a old school 90s coupe legend. Did you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And it's like I've always wanted one of those, and I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, man, that is like a cool car to have. It's a coupe. It's an Acura. It's big. It's a V6. That's not fast. I'm not trying to race it.
But you're gonna make it fast anyways. Let's be honest. You're gonna make it fast.
I would make it to my specter. Like I would daily that. I would make that my daily.
Okay.
And like I've been hunting, and I can't find one that's not beat up or someone asking too much for it, because they already know what it's worth, because there's not too many of those accurate two-door coupe legends.
So check this out, right? People are always asking me, they're like, Jason, what's the 3 best exotic cars I can buy? And I'm like, well, first of all, you're moving out of the petrol world at this point.
Yeah.
Now you're looking
supercars.
Yeah. So when you start talking about that, what was a supercar 10 years ago isn't a supercar today. You know what I mean? So a supercar 10 years or 15 years ago, I mean, if you got that wrong mid-corner, you die. You remember that?
Yeah.
And this was common, right?
Yeah, that's just the norm.
And so, when we start talking about people that grow up doing this, and then we start talking about people growing up doing this hobby, and obviously Europeans think that we can't drive, first of all. And I'll argue 2 different things.
There's that stereotyping.
Yeah. Well, and then we think they only like small engine cars and they don't like big engine cars. So there's lots of multiple stereotypes, and honestly, there's different driving styles. And I am prone to the European driving style. You are prone to the European driving style.
I'm lately I have, but
But it wasn't always that way.
It wasn't always that way. I like JDM, I like American, and I like GDM, German domestic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all good platforms. You just have to find the right year, the right model, and the right spec that fits you.
The driver,
it has to fit the driver. Before anything else. It doesn't matter. Because like a lot of people, come to me and like, oh, you got this and that. And they say, oh, they're made by this company, this and that. And I'm like, who cares? I said, but then, not to hate on Dodge, but I usually
You can hate on Dodge. It's okay.
But
I hate on Dodge. I hated on Dodge on the way here.
But there's a bunch of these
I mean,
cats.
I love the Vipers though.
Oh yeah, the old school Vipers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're gonna dig it, right?
Because they weren't bought by Fiat at that time.
Okay, I ain't got a problem with Fiat.
I don't either, but it's like a lot of people doing that. Every time I throw that out there, it's just like, dude, it's like, why are you judging me for my build and who owns it and whatever? I said, you guys are owned by Fiat. And they're like, don't even say that. It's still American made. I'm like, dude, there's no discrimination, but just don't.
Well, yeah, why is there this
Why are you
judgment?
throwing something at me when like you don't like it when I throw something at you? Just keep.
I can tell you why. It's because these YouTubers go out there and quote stats.
We're getting too deep, but yeah.
No, we were getting the right deep because this is what we're talking about. So when I look at your Mercs, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then I read your post and you're like, oh, it's an old man's car. I'm like, bro, that's a sick car. That's a V12.
But that's the stereotype that people gave me when I bought my second Merc, the CO600.
Sure.
The V12. They were like, oh, what are you doing with that grandpa car? And I'm like, grandpa car? What are you talking about? And then like when I got done with it, they're like, oh, now I'm like, well, why were you saying that in the beginning? You were already prejudging me about like what I was gonna do with the car. I said
exactly.
It just depends on like what you're gonna do with it and what platform you're gonna set it for the driver.
And more importantly, what you want, right?
Yeah.
Because it's your money.
It's my money. Hey, if you like what's going on right now, like and follow, subscribe to our channels, and we'll see you to the next content that we have.